Hi everyone, welcome to GydeBites. I'm your host Prasanna Vaidya, and today's episode is all about the question I hear quite often: how to build and lead high-performing L&D team. A team that's creative, team that's data-driven, trusted by business leaders, and obsessed with impact. And to help us all of this and to unpack this with us, I am joined by someone who has been doing just that. Lauren Cilurzo, Senior L&D Program Manager at Shift4. She has spent over a decade building learning programs that just don't check boxes. They drive performance, they boost engagement, and more importantly, they help people grow. She's a coach, she's a strategist, and true believer in learning that moves the needle. Lauren, welcome to GydeBites.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Lauren, and we'll jump in right away.
Sure.
We are in 2025. So what are some of the must-have skills you see that the L&D team must have today?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2025 demands that learning and development teams function really as strategic business partners, not just content creators anymore. So to thrive, I really believe that teams need to excel in a couple of core areas. One of those, from my experience and background, is business acumen. So learning and development must really speak to the language of the business. So that means understanding company goals, financial drivers, KPIs, and really aligning the learning strategies according to those. Without that, great learning experiences really risk being irrelevant, and that's the last thing that we want inside of L&D. One of the other skills that I think is really important in 2025 is human-centered design. We really can't automate empathy and feelings no matter how much we try. So a high performance learning and development team in 2025 has to be skilled in things like needs analysis, design thinking, and really crafting learning experiences that actually work for humans in complex and often global environments, which can be challenging. That's not something that you can just put into an AI or a robot or something like that and get a perfect answer every time. And then the last piece that I would say is really data storytelling. So it's not enough to just track L&D completions anymore. These teams really must analyze learning data to tell a compelling story about behavior change and business impact. So one way that I've been able to do this kind of through my experience is specifically within business acumen. So one way I was able to do that on my team was by creating a recurring business acumen series during our weekly meetings. I carved out about 5 to 10 minutes each week to spotlight a key aspect of our business. So things like revenue drivers, strategic priorities, or customer pain points. I proactively interviewed leaders across the organization to understand what mattered most to them, and then translated that back to my team in a way that connected directly with our work. So it really wasn't just information sharing. It was really about helping the team see where we could influence outcomes through our learning solutions that we were developing. So over time, that really helped us to shift our mindset from being order takers to really being strategic partners in the business.
Wow. Business Acumen series. I like that term.
Yeah.
So you said you are doing this weekly?
Yes. So typically my team meets once a week. Mm-hmm. So when we're doing that, I carve out just, again, it doesn't have to be much. Sometimes they're bigger conversations. Sometimes they're quick conversations. But really just making sure that everyone's on the same page about what that is for our business.
Yeah. And one of the points, Lauren, that you mentioned was about how diverse the organizations are, how global the organizations are. And my next question to you really is about, in a way, people, right? So it's how do you hire right people when the L&D talent is so hard to find and you have requirements all across the globe? And how do you do that? How do you achieve that?
Oh my gosh, yes. And then, at the same time, you're getting hundreds of resumes too. It can be so difficult to really kind of find those diamonds in the rough. So when it comes to my approach, I don't really hire for roles. I think really hiring for range and transferable skills is way more important. So when great learning and development talent is scarce, I'm really looking for a couple of key things. So one of those is core competency over job titles. So especially, I know anyone listening is I'm not new to this, but titles can vary so widely within companies, and often companies just kind of make up their own depending on what they need, right? So really, I care more about someone's portfolio and their ability to solve problems and really kind of their curiosity for solving problems. Can they design a learning journey? Can they facilitate a shift in a mindset? Can they analyze feedback and adapt quickly? So it doesn't really matter what their title is, as long as they can do some of those things. I'm not worried about helping them get acclimated to the organization that they're joining to really kind of get some more of those hard skills that are easier to teach.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I look for when hiring talent is learning agility. So I often prioritize people who can learn over those who claim to already know. So I'll ask candidates, tell me about a time where you built something totally new with very little direction. That's really where I tend to find the best people, because that's where the gold is. That's where they can really shine in terms of how they can adapt and be agile. Lastly, something that I look for is cultural contribution, really not just fit. So instead of hiring replicas, I hire people who bring something new to the team. So a different perspective, a different industry, or even just a different skill set from what we already have. This really helps to create an creative team, a resilient team, and ultimately a diverse team as well. So I'm really known for hiring those who come from non-traditional backgrounds. It's something that I'm really proud of. Some of the best learning and development professionals I've worked with didn't start in learning and development at all, right? So to uncover that hidden talent, I often ask candidates to deliver a training in the interview process on any topic that they're passionate about. It can be a Gantt chart in Excel. It can be why penguins are the most fascinating animals on Earth. Yes, I've seen both. It's really fun. And what I'm really looking for is how they think, how they structure information, how they engage others, and ultimately adapt. So that really tells me more about their potential than any resume ever could. Because at its core, that's what learning and development is all about. It's learning how to learn and then teaching others to do the same.
Wow, that was amazing. That was amazing, Lauren. So you gave so many nuggets for our audience. It's really cool. So one of the things you mentioned, that you hire people and ask bunch of questions like how you design something when you have no direction, totally new,
Yeah.
something to be developed. So let's double click on that a bit, right? So how you create that team, which is like both creative, at the same time they are data savvy, because data also plays a big role these days. So how do you sort of build that team which wants to go out of the way, but it also looks at the data and decides where to go and where not to?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I'm really passionate about personally, and I try to encourage my team members as well, being in learning and development, hopefully you inherently really love to learn anyways. And so really staying on the up and up, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in the episode as well. But really, understanding what technology and what resources are out there, really understanding where the learning and development industry is and following that. There are a million and one different ways that you can do that. Really kind of pick your flavor for whatever works for you. Personally, I really love reading white papers. I attend lots of webinars every month on topics that I think are interesting. So that really helps to lend itself to that creative mindset that really helps you to tackle those problems when there's not a rule book or a guidebook to follow, because you can use kind of your tool belt. That's kind of how I see these things, right? If I attend a webinar on AI or something team related, or managing a global workforce, those are all tools that I can put in my tool belt, because I'm not sure when I might need those later on. So I love to be extra prepared in that way. So that's one way that I can do it.
All right. So again, my next question, you already answered part of it, but which
Yeah.
tools and technologies you think can make a difference in your team's performance? So do you have any specific examples? Do you have any sort of genres that we can take a look at? Anything that comes to your mind?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have lots of different tools, but really, it's not about having a lot of different tools. It's about having the right tools and
Yeah.
using those, and they can significantly really elevate how L&D teams come together, how we collaborate, how we deliver, how we measure that impact, either kind of within our own L&D department or team, and with stakeholders across the organization. So there's a few that have really made a big difference for me. One of them is either a Lucid chart or Miro, even just a general whiteboard is fine. Something that really helps to foster that collaborative design thinking. So these are the go-tos that we use internally for visualizing our learning journeys. We use this for mapping systems, facilitating design sessions. It really helps the teams co-create in real time, even asynchronously, which is really cool. And that really helps to bring clarity to complex ideas, which is really critical, especially when we're trying to design with stakeholders who may have a ton of technical knowledge that we don't have, but we're still, partnering with them to deliver a solution at the end of the day. Another one that I really like specifically is workflow management tools like Jira, Monday.com, Asana, etc. This is where my project management hat comes out a little bit. But really, that is key for high performing learning and development teams, is really to run like product teams. And that has worked really well for me. So these tools help us to manage learning programs, ultimately like agile projects. So breaking work into sprints, tracking progress, keeping stakeholders aligned and informed. They also make our work more visible across the organization. So you definitely don't need to be a product manager. You don't even need to be in project management. Those are all still transferable skills that are really important for high performing L&D teams. And those are some tools that we use that really help us out.
Yeah. Of course, of course. I mean, and these tools are basically the way you structure your work, right? I mean, and how you can put out the plan and actionable plan in front of the team as well. It all those tools really help. And lastly, we want to discuss, Lauren, about okay, we have this high performing team, we have these lot of tools, AI, everything, but how do you make sure that our team is constantly adding real value to the business in a way, right? Because that's what has been or increasingly becoming important in today's world, that we as an L&D teams, we don't no longer remain a support center, but we become something which drives the business, which adds the value to the business. How do you make sure that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that is like the ultimate question, right? Learning and development earns its seat at the table by solving problems that actually matter to the business, not just putting out solutions that's a click through training, right? So there's some things that I do to kind of keep the focus. And one of those is really starting with discovery, not deliverables. So I always ask the question when we're meeting with stakeholders. I train my team to do the same thing, and that is, what's the real problem? What are we actually trying to solve for? Before I say yes to a request, I really want to dig in to see, is it an actual training issue or is it something like a communication breakdown? That lens really helps us to save time, money, and ultimately deliver more strategic solutions at the end of the day. Often I'm working with leaders who think training is a solution to a problem that's really just a breakdown in the process somewhere upstream. So don't get me wrong, we can still help with that, just not through something like a mandatory video or handout, which is typically kind of the knee-jerk reaction to a lot of leaders. One of the other things that I do to help with this is to tie learning metrics back to real business outcomes. Mm-hmm. So whether it's something like reduced ramp time, improved net promoter scores, or increased sales close rates, whatever it is for your business, right? We make sure that learning isn't isolated. So really trying to ask, what behavior are we trying to shift? How are we going to measure that? So those are some things that I do. And an example of that is one way that I ensure that we're driving towards real business is, again, linking to those strategic outcomes. So having that as a foundation for how you're operating. So an example is a high potential leadership development program that I helped to design and deliver over the past year. A key component of the program is a capstone project where participants identify a real business challenge that is aligned with organizational priorities and help to deliver actual measurable results results that impact the bottom line of the organization. These projects are not hypothetical. They're tied to actual KPIs within our business and directly impact the business as well. So we've seen participants come up with projects that help to reduce support time call volume, build cost management frameworks, and lead customer software migration initiatives. So lots of really cool things across the board. And it's been really incredible to watch what emerging leaders can accomplish when the development is connected to meaningful work and really what they can accomplish at the end of the day. It's really cool.
Wow. Wow. The real world capstone projects. I like it. And
Yeah.
also one more thing stuck with me was discovery before delivery.
Yes.
That was kind of amazing, because a lot of times everyone jumps into, hey, let's do this, but are we
Yeah.
actually solving the right problem at the first go? It's very important to understand. Lauren, thank you so much. But before we wrap up, we always ask our guests to leave our listeners with one of the actionable tips. It could be related to today's topic that we talked about, or something that has been valuable in your L&D journey. So, what will be your one tip for L&D professionals that those will be listening to our conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that's really made a big impact that I've put a lot of time and focus on, just kind of through experience and trial and error, is really protect your thinking time. That's something that's really important to me. So blocking out just 30 minutes a week, hopefully more if you can, but at a minimum, just try with 30, start with that. And use that time just to think, no meetings, no deliverables, just space to reflect, ideate, reset, whatever that looks like for you in that time. Some of my best ideas have really come from that protected time. Bonus points if you can maybe get outside for a walk or go do something and get up from your computer, wherever that might be as well. That really helps with my creative thought process as well. So protect your thinking time. That is really kind of my audience tip and takeaway, and kind of whatever that may look like for you in your week as an L&D professional.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get you, because we are in this daily rut that we are going through, and thinking about something deep, it requires focus time. So protecting our thinking time, it's very, very important actionable stuff, Lauren, you talked about today. Thank you so much for your thoughtful and practical conversation that we had. I'm sure every L&D leader, listeners listening today, they will be walking away with something actionable. For all of you listening, if you find this helpful, share it with your fellow L&D leaders. Subscribe to GydeBites for more episodes like this. And we'll see you next time with another episode which shapes the future of learning. Thank you so much, Lauren, once again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.